Okay, well, the first thing I think when I think of this group is welcoming, because as a folklorist, I have long identified that there are many aspects of folklore performance of which I am incapable. And singing has always been one of them. I've always identified as a non-singing person. And that's been very poignant to me because I so appreciate those who can sing and the songs that they sing and the way, the folk process by which they learn and absorb by osmosis these songs that are so significant. And having been a graduate student here and hearing Barry sing and learning the songs, though I did not sing them, I just sort of hummed, but I learned them all, set me in such good stead when I moved to Newfoundland for my PhD, where suddenly knowledge of these songs gave me something in common with Newfoundlanders. And I still didn't sing them, I just sort of hummed, but I very much saw the value not as a folklorist, but just as a member of the folk, for knowing the same things. You know, it's hard to get, at least where I grew up in California, it's hard to get farther away than Newfoundland and be on the same continent. Yeah. And to have this knowledge of music be something familiar was really, really cool and affected me really strongly. I really wanted to be able to participate rather than just stand back and think about it. So coming back here eventually and having it be okay to come and not sing, and then having it be okay to come and sing and try singing and figure out singing and ask questions about singing, and all of that was incredibly illustrative of a process that I had sort of perceived I could think about but couldn't be in, and then suddenly was in. And it was, so it's hard to talk about it as a folklorist because it goes so far beyond anything I might sit back and analyze or interpret critically, and becomes something that I got to be a part of so unexpectedly after so long of understanding from the outside. That
do you have flashes of metacognition when you're in the group?
Oh, too true. You know, Jay Meckling, do you know Jay Meckling, wrote this great article about what it means to be a folklorist, and he basically says that it's like, I tell my students it's like having a superpower, but I don't think those are Jay's words. Jay's words are that you have this double existence, that you are both in and watching everyday life. So it's this point of view, and it's interesting. He writes about how there are the students who just get it immediately, and then there are students who can see 100 examples and never get it. And he's talking about, you know, the process of teaching to them, but I find ever since I've read that, even though I knew it before, hearing him state it explicitly, I am much, much more aware of those moments of saying, "Oh, this is it. I'm giving the correct everyday person response. I'm laughing because someone told a joke, even if I don't get it, because that's what you do when someone tells a joke, and that's how we make ourselves fit in certain social situations. And I'm also acknowledging how that joke functioned and what we all did and what we're all doing, and so it's sort of on an even more meaningful level that it's singing, which is a thing that, you know, up until 6 months ago, I would have said, nope, I can't do that.
Working together.
When I think about performance, I think, in this context, when I think about performance, I think of how emblematic of folk performance it is that everyone is facing each other. You know, that there's I don't feel when I sing one of the two songs I'm able to, that I'm singing to anyone or for anyone. I'm sort of singing into the middle, and everyone else is singing into the middle with me. And I feel there's such a distinction between performance, the way most people conceive of it, in, you know, singular performer, massive audience, unidirectional. And we are not unidirectional here. We are it's hard to even identify a direction unless it's towards this united center, and I feel like that illustrates the whole process of this style of performance. You know, a few weeks ago I had Folk Song Day in my Intro to Folklore class, and we were listening to professional recordings of folk artists and everything, and I was trying to convey, this isn't what it's like. The stage and the lights and the amps and the sound system can be there, but that's not how it is when people actually sing folk songs with each other. It's a performance on a welcoming is the word I would go back to. You know what I mean? It's a very welcoming style of performance. So when it's my turn to sing, even given all the previous consternation I might have had about that, I don't feel put on the spot, which is interesting to be able to perform technically or nominally and not feel put on the spot is sort of neat.
You published something about collaboration, and I wonder how do you theorize collaboration in a context like this?
That's really neat because for me, this being something that I could sort of witness externally before and not participate in, the sense of group building is really, bye Alan, is really significant, I think, because it's not, I certainly practiced alone. I practiced in my car when no one else could hear me.
Sure.
But the sense of, you know what it was? It was when other people began harmonizing. And I realized that I was being trusted to carry a tune by myself. That there was a whole different sense of co-creation happening. That was, I wasn't being humored. You know what I mean? It wasn't a sense of, okay, you do your thing and we'll move on. That it was a trust that I could continue to carry a tune, despite other people not simply carrying it with me or along with me, but that we could sort of co-create something. And when I talked about collaboration, I talked about time-delayed collaboration.
Right.
The serial collaboration that I was talking about versus like a barn raising.
Right.
And it's interesting because this is really both. This is, to me, the times that I spend hearing these songs or singing these songs outside of this context are contributing to the experience of singing them in this context, where it's much more the barn raising model of we are all here together constructing a song, or not even a song, that's the wrong word, a singing experience. Yeah, exactly. And that everyone is, and then to be able to contribute on a much more conscious level to other people's singing experiences is this whole new crazy, to even begin to go, hey, I think I'm doing something on purpose, and not just, attempting not to clash, but purposefully blending is a really interesting in its newness to me personally experience. So that makes a big distinction between, driving alone in my car and kind of going, can I do this? And the slow process of, hey, I think maybe I can, at least with this one song. I could actually sing it, for reals, not just know the words, but sing it, that would be received appropriately is when I knew I'd actually done it. Yeah, I don't know. And again, that hospitality makes me think reciprocity. Someone is accommodating or welcoming or inviting me, and I want to be able to invite back. And I think that was missing for the time that I could listen and not sing. And then singing aloud.
Because you were not
that reciprocity. I was not reciprocating the invitation of come and try and make a song that I'm leading now. Because for me, the whole issue was, am I capable? Am I simply leeching? Am I gaining without giving from this group,
So you felt a different sort of pressure of performance.
Especially knowing that it was something that I ostensibly study and know a lot about and simply cannot do. That was how I identified it, as I can't. It wasn't a don't want to or I'm not good at or whatever. It was just sort of in my mind as I can't. Stephen always says that his 20s was the decade in which he learned to snowboard, which was a brand new, totally non-pre-existing skill of his. And I told him, I think a few months ago, that maybe my 30s will be the decade I learned to sing, which was wholly absent from my life before that. And in that way that when you join a group that is freely and easily functioning and working and knows what the expectations are, it's how I always use as an example to my students that if they ever doubt the power of folklore to either promote or demote, I guess, group insiderness, all they have to do is go to junior high and watch the incredible instinctive cruelty with which children use inside jokes to keep people out and bring people in to things. And I feel as though there's sort of that, I'm using that example to illustrate that this group is the opposite of that there is a welcomingness, but in my mind there are singing people and there are non-singing people. And I was always a non-singing person, and the singing people just knew how to do it. It was just this God-given gift, and because they knew how to do it, they knew how to talk about it and start it and relate to it and do these things that were a mystery to me as an outsider. And slowly the discovery for me that there is, one, a mechanism, and two, a learnable mechanism behind that is sort of this mystery unveiled. You know.
When did you become an insider? At what point?
When I first sang something. I mean, I would have said that I could pass as an insider until it, like to another outsider, until it became noticeable that I was never singing anything. Only because I know all the words. I mean, for so long now, I've known so much about that process and simply not been able to participate in it. That for me, at least, my perception of my own participation changed enormously when I actually was like, all right.
What did you sing?
I sang South Australia.
South Australia.
And it's a song that I had known. I want to say, Barry, you sang it to me for the first time when I was a grad student here. Is that, you don't think so? I had heard it before I went to Newfoundland, and then it was huge in Newfoundland. The bars would sing it there, and there you can just sort of shout, and I can be loud, if not, tonal. So that sort of worked for me there. So it was a song I was very, very familiar with, very, very simple pattern. I could sort of think about the musical notation mathematically and get to a point where I could be like, oh, okay, I just have to sort of meet these cadences every now and again, and then I think I can actually do this, because it had never occurred to me that one who could not instinctively sing could learn to sing. And truly, that may sound silly, but I just sort of figured there are people who can and they can learn to do it better, and then there are people who can't and they're out of luck, But so practicing alone while driving to Brigham City, where I taught intro once a week, and realizing I think I'm hearing that this is working. I mean, it may not even sound good, but it sounds like the song it's meant to sound like, And so for me, actually singing it and then going, I'm not doing this silently with an audience. People are singing with me. That was sort of that last barrier to getting it.
How much did you have to screw up your courage to do that?
Oh, it took like 4 or 5 months. I mean, I came here on and off fairly. I mean, it was. Yeah. Stephen would say, "Are you going to do it today?" And I would say, "No, I'm just gonna pass today." And then he'd say, "Are you going to do it? Are you going to do it this week?" And I'd say, "No, I don't think so." I mean, it was just I don't know what. And then there was just sort of this: I can't sing it alone anymore in the car, because there's that it's not complete. I've gone as far as singing alone in the car can take me.
Yeah.
And now I need to try and sing it with other people singing. And I was convinced I knew that one song well enough to sing the whole thing, even if other people were singing right. That's one of the big things, is I hear other people and I'm trying to match, your note, and I'm trying to match Amy, and I'm just trying to go all over the place. And I thought there used to be one song I'm in charge of. And then there was. And it was amazing. It's really amazing. I mean, it completely altered a very significant thing I thought I understood about myself. Who knows what is left to discover in my 40s and 50s and 60s and 70s? I'll take up snowboarding in my 80s or something, honey. Yeah.